Welcome to Mahamudra for the People. It's nice to see everyone. Um, and yeah, Richard, I'm going to call you out, Richard Ferris. You sent me an email a little bit ago with a great image um, of Rupa, and then it made me want to share my big
Oh wow.
lovely statue of him that oh god, I it must have got in 2005 or something, in Nepal, and then had Gyaltsen Rinpoche's monks, fill it and have him bless it and all of this. So he's my big portly friend who makes me feel good about my portliness. But yeah, I figured I would have him here with us because here we are together, and we're going through this song. Um, I am in um, yeah, in a bedroom because the kids are home from school for the week, and so I'm in this place of least resistance, the great practice space of sitting in bed. So, and it's a joy to be here with everybody, and we're going to continue with Virupa's Doha Kosha, um, and yeah, but maybe we can begin by sitting for a little bit. Sitting for maybe 15 minutes. And especially doing so in a way where we're relaxed, we're open, free, right? Not tight, not tense. So let your body really rest with ease. And let your breathing be natural. Right? There's no pranayama here. Let your mind be naturally spacious, open, vast, that location. Allow yourself to let go of the past, so let go of everything before this moment. And the future, who knows, who cares, hasn't happened yet. Just let go of that. Let go of this present moment and whatever you think it should be. That's not really, don't be intense. Don't white knuckle the present moment. Don't label. Be too smart. Don't control. Don't try to figure anything out. We're not making meaning here. Just resting into our natural state. And allow yourself to rest openly, freely, in a dynamic way. We'll sit like this for 15 minutes. And gently just come back to um, I'm sharing a video here from a teaching I gave on Sunday on Song 8 from Shabkar's Flight of the Garuda. And I'm saving it just because I think it's a good kind of complement to this, what we're going to be kind of getting into today. So don't, don't let it distract you. But if you want to, save it on a open window and come back to it because it will be, I think it'll be helpful, kind of like a Dzogchen equivalent to some of what um, Virupa is trying to share with us. Um, so kind of coming back to last week, um, I think I only got kind of into the first portion of this. So I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit and start from the beginning with respect to what Rupa says of Mahamudra. So he begins, and this is a Vajra song or a gyur in Tibetan, or Doha in Sanskrit. So these are songs, right? So he begins with this Emaho. Mahamudra is the sameness of samsara and nirvana. Because it knows no origin, it is as pure as the sky. Because it is free of identity, it is signless. Because it is formless, it has no manifestation. It cannot be examined or analyzed. It cannot be exemplified. Yet it is not defined by non-example. It transcends intellectual expression. Mahamudra does not last, yet it has no end. It is not samsara, yet not nirvana. It is no appearance, yet non-emptiness. It has no substance, yet not insubstantial. It is not the unborn, nor the natural state. It is not what transcends the intellect. It is not existent, yet not non-existent. Because no verbal definition holds, it cannot be defined in dualistic terms. It is original sameness. It's kind of one taste, right? So I'm going to pause right here in the text. And so, the real kind of point here that he's trying to make is that we can't explain this, right? This is not the kind of thing that, somebody can, um, you know, uh, get a doctorate in, right? And then, just it's explained, it's known, right? So this is why, Vrupa and so many other people use all of these, contradicting statements. It's not this, it's this. It's not that, it's this. It's this, it's not that. How could it be possibly be that? Because it's not this. It's our labeling mind, our intellectual mind. He's gonna sit on my lap. Can't contain this. It just can't. It will never be able to. Um, and so this practice of Mahamudra in particular, is about completely abandoning that way of relating to this. Right? And this is hard because all of us here have been educated to value. Um, okay, I don't have headphones here. Let me pause this. I will be right back.
Thank you all for your patience with the sound. Sound is like a recurring theme of like Do we practice with it or do we make the request?
So, this is not the kind of thing that the intellectual mind will ever be able to figure out. So don't try, period. Everything that you know is wrong. Everything that you know is not reliable. This has nothing to do with education. This has nothing to do even with time on the cushion, as it were. Right? This is completely not that. Right? So when Vrupa says, Mahamudra does not last, yet it has no end. In one stanza, he says, Mahamudra is the sameness of samsara and nirvana. And then in another line, he says, it is not samsara, yet not nirvana. It has no appearance, yet no yet not emptiness. It has no substance, yet is not insubstantial. Because no verbal definition holds, it cannot be defined in dualistic terms. It is original sameness, nowness, isness, beingness, pure being, spontaneous being. Right? And so then somebody will invariably ask, well, what does that mean? And that means sit down and figure it out. There's no, cliff notes to this kind of thing, or no, Mahamudra for dummies. What does it mean to be? Rest yourself beyond the three times, beyond the past, or free of the past, beyond the future, free of the future. No idea about now, and just be. Don't control. Don't make anything happen. Don't figure anything out. Stop. He goes on to say, much is said of its essence, its true meaning, and its function. But then, what of the rabbit's horns? Much can be said of their sharpness or dullness. But of course, they don't exist. No thing exists except in the imagination. For objective appearance is without any substance. All is mere name, mere frame, pure imputation, and name and meaning are the same. Right? No thing exists except in the imagination. For objective appearance is without any substance. So just take a moment and settle yourself into direct experience of whatever is perceivable. Right, so in particular, let's use visual phenomenon. And look. Right, look at what is there. And you will see things. There are things there. And so this Mahamudra relationship to letting the thingness of the thing be in the same unified experience of being as we are experiencing, we just stop. We don't impute. We don't label. Just let it be. Let it be free from attachment and aversion. Let it arise directly. And meet this direct arisal with your own natural responsive awareness. In this moment, what exists? Right? And don't solve with your head. There's no extra points for using your intellect. Don't be smart. Just rest into this direct experience. Don't label. Just let everything be. Let yourself be. So what is this like? What do you see? What do you feel? Somebody. I can't tell you what you feel. Like being in Van Gogh. Like being a Van Gogh. So who sees all these external things that are, yeah, spaciousness, good. What else? Relaxation. How about any hard edges? Are there any hard edges in that experience? Bittersweetness. I'm curious about that. What's bittersweet about it? Some judgment. Oh, we're going down a precipice. Mm-hmm. Distraction. So let me ask a question. What is distraction? Is distraction an uninvited thing? It's not supposed to be here. Like a thief. Or like an uninvited guest. How is distraction possible? Is distraction aversion? We can have aversion to distraction. Yeah, so these are really worth like exploring, right, for ourselves. How is distraction possible? All we're doing is experiencing. All we're doing is resting into being. So there can be, the sounds of things coming from all over, inside us, outside. There can be even the loss of focus, right? So, likes and dislikes, our habituation, exactly. And all that is reactive storyline, right? Projection, judgment, preference, the manifestation of preference, wanting this but not being able to have it. Something else comes, something else invades the space, invades the experience. But there's no individual experience, right? It's just this flow of what is happening. It's in reality, a noisy place to practice is just a very vivid experience of mind, right? Very vivid experience of phenomenon. Many things happening. And the aversion to that is also interesting too, because what is, to feel, oh God, now I'm distracted. Okay, all we're doing is succumbing to an assumption about what the practice should be. It should be peaceful. I should be blissed out, man. The only reason why I'm doing this. I should look good and have flowers in my hair. Be like, exactly. Right? But sometimes we have a tummy ache or a headache or there's a lot of noise. Sometimes we're very noisy. And what then? Right? Who do we blame? To blame ourselves. Oh God, I'm such a terrible meditator. Yeah, so distraction, I like that, Aaliyah. Like, distraction is the mind pulling away, trying to make sense of confusion, make something of everything, trying to control things. What's meditation and what's not meditation? Who are we? We're like the bouncer at the meditation club. Like, no, you can't come in. Like, you definitely, we don't want someone who looks like you in here. Like, we've got some standards to uphold in this meditation club. Right? So that's weird. Right? If we want a really good club experience, right, you want to let everyone in because then it gets weird inside. And that's what people pay extra money for. And so that's what Varupa was doing. He's like, everybody's allowed in this club. Right? Everybody is part of this club. So another question. When we were sitting like that, where were you? Were you like, I am the observer. I am the scientist. I am the yogini or the yogi. I am making this happen. Was that coming up? Was there any falling away of you? Did you fall away? Come back to it. Let's all just come right back. Don't allow yourself to sit. Right? And just settle yourself. Don't make a big deal. Right? Don't tell yourself a story. Just sit. Allow yourself to just settle. In this particular case, again, to just visual phenomenon. And let yourself settle into the sameness of all visual phenomena, letting it just be, not dependent on you. You're not a permission giver. If we all died right now, all of it would just continue to be. And as you settle, where are you? Can you let your own experience of being harmonize with the simultaneous being of whatever it is that happens to be happening? And let your awareness expand to include all sense faculties, all that data. Let it be. And let your awareness go even further. Where are you now? Where are you? Let your awareness go. And settle into that spaciousness. Where are you? Savarupa says, no thing exists but in the imagination. For objective appearance is without any substance. All is mere name, mere frame, pure imputation. And name and meaning are the same. Mahamudra is primary and co-emergent, unsought. Mahamudra is of mind, a name, and an emptiness, spaciousness. Mahamudra is unborn quiescence, no thing with a label, like space, all-pervading, imperishable, unchanging, ubiquitous emptiness without any self-nature. Without character, it cannot be remembered or thought of It has no identity. It cannot bind or fetter, never leaving its interior natural state. So kill the meditator. Kill being good. Who cares? Right? Nobody here knows. Nobody is paying attention. Self-consciousness is an interesting term, isn't it? Me conscious of myself. It's like Charles Mingus, I am myself when I am real. Right? So I'm so real. I'm a meditator. Yeah, I'm a practitioner. It's interesting that, within the context of meditation, we seem to kind of conceive of this a little bit more than I'm going to be a little inane here, but like when we're cooking, right? We're not like I am in the midst of cooking. At least I'm not. You know, or showering. I am showering. Or going to the bathroom. I am going to the bathroom. But there's something sometimes about settling into meditation where we're like, I am doing all of this stuff. I am sitting. I am breathing. I am thinking. Now I am not thinking. There is noise. My kids are pitter-pattering back and forth outside this room. I. Right? So, what about letting go of you? Letting go of location. This is a little scary sometimes for people because we've made this this is familiar, this is home, seems to appear to be the abode of all my sense faculties, etc. Right? Let it go. Just let it go. Yeah, right. Yes, sometimes it's like I'm plagiarizing reality, fabricating a resume of being or something like that. Oh yeah, Rupa goes on to say, sentient life is Mahamudra emanation, primordially birthless, a constant reality expanse. The dualities of happiness and sadness and everything else. The play of Mahamudra is reality laid bare. Without any essence, a flickering display, it never loses the seal of natural state emptiness. So, part of our big problem is that we've just identified with something that has no essence, and we just keep that going. Me, I, feeling. I am thinking, I am doing, I am this. If I don't do it, no one will, right? And the thing about Mahamudra, and this is true of Dzogchen too, which is the nice thing about that Flight of the Garuda song number 8, is it's done. You can't, this isn't about you creating anything. This is the one thing in your life that you don't get to create. Sorry. This is the one thing that you don't get to say you do, you did, you mastered. I did it my way. Like Frank Sinatra playing in the background. sitting drinking scotch somewhere, smoking a big cigar, post Mahamudra realization, like with Rupa, and you're like, I did it. I did it my way. No, all the dakas and dakinis are laughing because, oh, it's been like this the whole time. It's more like the joke is on us. Oh, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. All the Buddhas are like, hee 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 hee. Oh, look at that person. Hee 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 hee. They think they're in charge. They think they're separate. They think that they're controlling all of us. Right? They think that this is theirs to control. And of course we don't like to think about that stuff because that makes us feel like we're just one part of a bigger play that all happens to be interconnected, which is what this is. I was using, I think, yesterday maybe, or whenever, I like this metaphor of mycelial networks. Like, have you ever, so like, that often in forests, but in theory, running in some places for hundreds of miles, there are mycelial networks through which trees communicate, right? And, fungi communicate. And, every time there's a death of a plant, that death is being communicated and the nutrients are being communicated, right? And so we up on the surface of the earth are like, wow, look at all these individual things that have no real relationship to one another. How weird. Or, haha, I know all this. But meanwhile, there's all the stuff we don't see, right? Around how interconnected all of these plants are, how interconnected all of the trees are, the mycelia, and that there's actual communication, there's actual movement of data going on. And then this last point is really similar. Sentient life is Mahamudra emanation, primordially birthless, a constant reality expanse. The dualities of happiness and sadness are the play of Mahamudra, reality laid bare. Without any essence, a flickering display, it never loses the seal of natural state emptiness. And we cannot extricate ourselves from this. You can't extricate yourself from Mahamudra. Even if you were to put yourself in some completely hermetically sealed vessel somewhere, you're like, haha, F you, Mahamudra. Mahamudra has just invaded this hermetically sealed thing through you. Space itself, all the elements. And so we can't remove ourselves from any of this. There is no separate perceiver. If you are a separate perceiver, then let go of that and just see what is there. Awareness never takes a break. There is no break. Constancy. Right? Constancy. And it's interesting too to think of this, like, what does taking a break look like? Like a long linear line, that seems like a long thing, right? Oh my God. But it's moving in every direction. Yeah, so fireworks and mania. I like to use mania because, sometimes I'll meet people who they get that like glinty look in their eyes and they, kind of talk about enlightenment as got some really intense experience, that you never come down from. And the thing is it's ordinary. Drinking tea in the morning, ordinary. Feeding your kids, ordinary. alternate side of the street parking ordinary. I mean, this is the thing, right? Our like desire to separate is really a desire to become realized. But when we forget that this is not about separating, or we tend to forget that this is not about separating, but how could there be an experience of awakening that is separate from all of this? Like, we would like that, perhaps, I guess. I don't have to deal with my neighbors. Let me get unenlightened, and then I will go somewhere else, right? But again, as like I keep pointing out, and hopefully one day we'll touch on this song where Saraha is like, you do not need to go anywhere else for this. Please don't be a fool, right? It's not at Burning Man. It's definitely not there, right? It's right here. It's on the subway. It's in your breath. It's in your boredom. It's in your doubt. It's in your self-aggrandizing. It's in the release of all those things. So the next is a very short next part of the instruction, which is the relative truth Mahamudra, how to tread the path. And this has 2 sections, I believe. Yeah, but the second is divided into many portions. So the first is the diluted way to tread the path. So this is good. It's nice and short too. So we can know what not to do. So Varupa says, some lamas grant empowerments but cause distress. Some claim hung and pe and count their beads. Some consume dung and urine, blood and semen and flesh. And some rest in illusions of energy channels and flows. Right? So there's some specific stuff that's being pointed out here. So some lamas grant empowerments but cause distress. Right? So this is predicated on this kind of belief that without full empowerment or initiation, you can't achieve Mahamudra. Well, that's wrong. That is that in a certain sense, you could say that steals from the natural, vast, creative spontaneity that Mahamudra is. Right? If there had to be a empowerment ceremony or initiation ceremony that was the thing that planted the seed, what existed before Mahamudra? Right? This is right. So it's there's this like conceptual element to this argument that is just inaccurate. Right? And this is what Rupa is pointing out. He's like, you don't need an empowerment for this. And of course, this Rupa lived relatively early, somewhere between the 7th and 9th centuries theoretically, and this argument extended way into the 11th and 12th centuries about that you need to have a tantric empowerment to be able to practice Mahamudra, to be able to experience Mahamudra, etc., especially the 4th empowerment. And even here, Varupa, predating all of these arguments, is like, that's not true. Okay, there's no key, so get rid of the idea that you need a key. And he says, some declaim hung and pe and count their beads, right? And so this hung and pe is important, right? It cuts through, right? These are these techniques for cutting through discursiveness. Here I am, I'm sitting, Justin is sitting here, and Justin is watching this other thing that is self-existent. And then Justin is getting distracted, right? And so there's these techniques of yelling, Pe! Right? Or hung! And just letting ourselves rest into the cut that makes, that freshness. Instead of doing that, people have their mala, and they're doing mantra, 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 right? They're trying to transform themselves into something else, right? A yiram. Oh, let me be Chenrezi. Let me be Vajrahi. Right? Then I'll be ready for Mahamudra. Well, no, that's nice. It's not necessarily, none of this is outside of Mahamudra, but that is not needed, right? That's not needed. And the next, some consume dung and urine and blood and semen and flesh, and this is a reference more to the inner offerings that you find, again, specifically within the context of Tantra. And so what Virupa, who happens to be a master of Tantra, is saying, that is too much, right? This is too, it's not that the consumption of these is too much, it's that this is still conceptual. There's no transformation that's needed, right? When resting into the direct experience of pure being, why in God's name, he wouldn't use that language, but I'll use it. Why in God's name will you start trying to transform yourself into something other than that? Right? That makes no sense. It's like too many steps, right? Or there's that weird part of that. Of course, this is all fictional, but so is all of this. But in the movie Amadeus, Mozart is getting this kind of like critique from the emperor about his music, and the emperor is like, "Oh, there are just too many notes." That's what this is like. We're resting into Mahamudra, and then someone's like, "Hey, man, what's your yidam?" Oh, too many notes. Too many notes. Hey, did you receive an empowerment for that? Too many notes. Hey, we're going to have a tzok after this. We're going to consume the 5 meats and the 5 nectars. If you're really serious about Mahamudra, that will get you there. And Virupa's like, no, too many notes. Right, and then some rest in the illusions of energy channels and flows. Salung, all of the energies, these nadis, right, can become these hatha yogis, these really intense sadhus. Right? And I'm glad that Virupa said that, right? Because he's not the only one. Many people have said this for centuries after him, and the point is it is here, right? It is here. Like Hatha Yoga, right? It is complete. The practice is not about contorting ourselves. The practice is just learning how to be, to rest into being. Totally ordinary, totally boring, totally, not worthy of memoir. Too bad. Not necessarily connected to any kind of crescendo. Oh! On top of it, we're all still going to die. We get sick, all of that stuff. We get frustrated, all of that stuff. So that's how not to tread the path. So in one way, and I know this will definitely rub some people the wrong way, but I don't think those people are here, which is nice. They'll probably find this on YouTube. And I'll face the consequences later. But he's basically saying, don't be superstitious. Right? Don't be superstitious. Don't be overly religious. Right? Don't be a ritualist. Right? Don't be a pranayama technician. right? Or a hatha yoga technician. Just be yourself. Just relax. Right? Just rest into your own being. Just get loose. And he has this like garland of flowers, and there are flowers in his hair, right? So he's all like, this is what I want to be when I grow up, right? Like this. He's stopping the sun while he drinks all the beer. He's having a good time. He's just being himself, right? All the flowers he stole, he's perfect. He's the perfect role model. Wearing these stolen flowers. They're not plastic. Although that's what the modern Veropa would do. Go into a store and steal all these plastic flowers and walk around sashaying down the sidewalk. Yeah, well, yeah, the integration is always the work, right? Integration with respect to Mahamudra too. Like these moments of open clarity, right? Vast open awareness. We'll have these experiences, but I think we tend to ignore or have a real kind of problematic relationship um, with this idea of integration and what that is, right? So we should be able to practice and then take a break and focus on integration. Like, what does it mean that I don't exist? Right? There's a lot to integrate in that, right? What does it mean that I and everything in visual phenomena are nothing but the same experience? Right? There's a lot more to be said about what it means to actually integrate that than just be like, I'm good. I paid X amount of money for this retreat. I'm really going to get my money's worth. I'm going to just nail this. And then I'm going to go to work because I got to make more money. There's no integration in that model, right? That's a bad model. That's not good, right? Of course, that's kind of what sometimes our capitalist society just, is the only thing it lets us have. But if we can take time to disrupt our ideas of practice, 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 maybe it could be practice, practice, practice. Take some time to just chill out and integrate, right? Or practice, 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 and then don't put any pressure on yourself and see how you're changing. Because the thing is like, once we open up to this integrative unraveling that begins to happen, then it becomes a really natural thing that we can kind of hold or maintain while we're doing our daily things, right? I'm beginning to open up to the fact that even while I'm attending to, family related things or, whatever, complete mundane things, that I can move through space aware of the fact that I'm completely unraveling, right? I am falling apart in the best way possible. Right? I am dissolving. May I dissolve when I go to Walgreens, the pharmacy. May I dissolve while I go to the grocery store. May I continue to dissolve when I go to the bank. May I dissolve riding on the subway. May I dissolve in everything I do. May I wake up and dissolve. May I go to sleep and dissolve. Letting go. Letting go. So we can start a little bit the the oral instructions on the definitive view. Right, so there are these ways. So then there's the non-diluted way of treading the path, and consists of 4 points. And the first is the instruction on the definitive view. Then is the instruction on meditation, and then is the instruction on action, treading the path, and then the instruction on the goal, which is the perfection of Mahamudra. So the first one is the oral instruction of the definitive view. So it begins off with Emaho, anchored by the Lama, cognize understanding. Delusion is every single thing, non-realization. Nothing is to be realized, no one to realize. No absence of realization is possible, neither freedom nor constraint existing. Only a natural constancy abides. With this definitive view, all is fulfillment. Right, so anchored by the Lama just simply means let this be introduced to you by a teacher, and basically have all debts resolved about quote unquote process, or in this particular case, the view. And so delusion is every single thing, right? Delusion. It's like taking a knife and smearing the butter of delusion across the screen. Right? Non-realization, right? Everything is non-realization. And then the next line, nothing is to be realized. No one is to realize. No absence of realization is possible. Neither freedom nor constraint existing. Only a natural constancy abides. With this definitive view, all is fulfillment. Right, so there is no ignorance, there is no lack of ignorance. Why is this important? Well, many people have been trained, especially in this progressive model of let me remove. It's like, the song inch by inch, row by row, gonna make that garden grow, right? But except where obscuration by obscuration, sin by sin, gonna, whatever, right? But no, it's not like that. He's like, it's not the slow, progressive removal of obscuration. Of course, on some level, it can be approached that way, perhaps. But that's really not necessary. There's no such thing as obscuration. There's no such thing as lack of obscuration. Just tear up the script and just show up. No absence of realization is possible. Right? So you're not a schmuck. Right? We're all okay. Everything's going to be okay. Each one of us is okay. Variegated form all shines as suchness. So all this stuff. And accepting and rejecting mind do not arise. Meditation and no meditation are identical. And pejorative distinctions do not cause moral pollution. No basis for dualizing objectivity can arise. Right? That's just not possible in this practice. Of course it can, right? In all of our ignorance, right? In all of our ignorance, we believe all sorts of messed up things about people, right? And then we'll vocalize that. Blah, 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 blah. And the only thing that makes it a problem is that we truly believe it. In and of itself, the sound has no, there's no stain by that. Right? Accepting and rejecting mind in this practice don't arise because everything is just naturally liberated as it happens. Right? Of course, in the beginning, though, as we're learning how to be able to practice this, yes, there's accepting, that is good, that other thing is not good. Right? But having to open up to this, and again, this is the view, right? So the view is like, what that essentially means is like, this is the way it is, right? So there's usually the view, the path, and the fruition. So the view is, this is the way it is, right? And initially this seems like a kind of intellectual thing, right? It's not that it's necessarily intellectual, but it's maybe a new way of seeing things that we're not used to. So we familiarize ourselves with the view, and then we enter into the practice. And so we'll see that probably next week. Without concepts of deed and doer, thought is free of concrete reference points. Without projections, larded, right? Built up, fattened, with hope and fear. Attachment becomes thoroughly inverted. Right? Without concepts of what is done and the doer. I can drop it. Has anyone here, probably not, because everyone here is quite brilliant, but has anybody ever had that experience where you kind of like clop around the house, you know, your feet plop, 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 and you're irritated and you feel like you have to do everything? Oh, God, I have to do this. Oh, who put the cutting board there? Oh, you know. Yeah, exactly. Right? Clop, 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 clop. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. You know, and boy, do we really like, you know, make that drama super real, right? So without concepts of deed and doer, so right, so no clopping around during our practice. Right? Open up to the fact that the practice just does itself. It's like Rosie from the Jetsons. It's like having a meditative Rosie in your corner who just does it all for you. Mahamudra does the work. But meanwhile, we think we're all tough, so we're picking up all the heavy things and getting irritated, right? But if we just sit down and the Mahamudra does it all for us, oh, how wonderful. Thought is free of concrete reference points. Without projections larded or fattened by hope or fear, attachment becomes thoroughly inverted. Right, so even, you know, between now and next week, this idea of letting go of attachment, you know, try to let attachment die on the vine. Like, over the course of this next week, try and just let yourself, you know, basically be on vacation, right? Don't care. Don't do. Don't think. Don't act as if the world depends on what it is you're right about to do. Right? It's interesting, there's this article that's been going around on Facebook about spiritual narcissism. And it's an interesting article. Of course, I posted it, and then it caused all this conflict, so then I took the post down because people got all hot and bothered, and then they started asking me to come in and moderate this, and who really has time for that, right? Like, I don't even have time to breathe most days, like, let alone try and, like, you know, help moderate people's, you know, very, 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 very intense statements towards one another. You know, being spiritually narcissistic while proving that they're not, or that somebody else is being that way. So anyway, you know, Mahamudra is a perfect antidote for spiritual narcissism because you can't do anything. This is not about you. Your practice is not about you. There's nothing heroic about you. You don't have the power to do it. This is not all like, you know, Popeye, you know, this is not like, luckily there are a good portion of people not from America here, but This is not a case of American exceptionalism where it's like we're gonna do the hard, like Rosie the Riveter, that those posters of we can do it, we could do this Mahamudra. Like that's a completely like weird and different, like not a helpful way of addressing this. A Mahamudra practitioner, when crazy sound arises that was unplanned for, is able to just let crazy sound that was unplanned for happen in a naturally self-liberated way. There's no hallway to walk out to and a door to knock bang on and be like, hey, I'm trying to practice Mahamudra. I'm in this direct, like lineal practice as this guy, and I want you to be quiet because I'm getting irritated. Right? Shut up. Right? That doesn't make any sense. Or this, really intensely sensitive. I've studied all the texts. I know it all. I can tell you the way this connects to every single tradition, this way and that. Right? We gotta drop that too. In a way, this is like the practice of maximal passive ease. Nothing to do. Like the cool kids, like smoking pot underneath the bleachers, in high school. They don't care. They're having more fun. Whereas all of us others are like, I am walking, doing walking meditation. I am feeling, I am thinking thoughts. I am thinking good thoughts now because I do not want to let myself think bad thoughts. Right? Yeah, the practice of being a low-key being. The practice of just, it's thought of the Big Lebowski. Just someone who's just a little like laid back. Or there's that new show with, I can never remember her name, Natasha. Oh, God. She was in Russian Doll. She's kind of cool in this new show. But yeah, like it's not about us. And this is what Varupa's pointing out. It's not about you, not about me. This just does itself. Oh, maybe I can. So he says, with realization of the Lama's natural state, mental activity dissolves fast in the reality sphere. In the stream of consciousness, empty of attachment, uncontrived phenomenon freely rise and fall. Right? So, ideally one has a teacher of this who has had the experience of this, right? Which is what he's pointing out in the beginning. With the realization of the Lama's natural state, so with the realization of, the experience of one's teacher, right, we can see that mental activity dissolves fast in the reality sphere, right? It dissolves, right? So like the more we just are able to rest into open awareness, every single amazing thought can happen, like amazing thoughts, and then horrible murderous thoughts, right? Dark thoughts. And when we sit and we begin to watch how they dissolve into an insubstantial spaciousness, right? All that like intensity, like our mind is like Gaudi, like a Gaudi building, totally ornate, all this stuff, right? And then dissolves. Right? And again, this is important because we take these truths to be self-evident, right? The beginning of, was it the Declaration of Independence or something, right? And that's what we do constantly. We're taking these truths that arise in my mind to be self-evident, to be permanent, to be all this stuff, right? Well, just sit with it and see where it goes. Maybe somebody, if Rupa was only there when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, he'd be like, all right, guys, I'm going to steal those flowers. And they go, sit over here by the Hudson River. Just chill out. You guys have fun fighting your war. Oh, boy. In the stream of consciousness, empty of attachment, uncontrived phenomenon, freely rise and fall. Just like civilizations, right? The way we experience things comes and goes, comes and goes, that's all. Yeah. So maybe we'll pause here. Are there any questions? Or worries? Does anyone want their refund? Can email Eric. Just kidding. Yes, Melissa.
This has been really great. And the comments in the chat, what people are saying about dancing around distraction is really helpful. By the way, whoever posted about noise, it was Richard. Distraction. I live near a firehouse. Here, that's a practice. So in terms of distraction, right? What I feel when I meditate is that there'll be something that comes up that has a different texture, maybe than what I expect, like the texture of anxiety, the texture of distraction, right? And I feel like that I, as a person in society, in this culture, I go with that change of texture, right? So from a Mahamudra point of view, when that texture of a distraction comes up, or the texture of a strong emotion while we're meditating, I feel like the teaching of liberate upon recognition, usually we go with what we recognize, we go with that texture. So is part of the practice not investing in that change of texture? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I use this word, I don't know, the last song comes from the Mahasiddha Maitreya, who was a couple generations from Rupa. But it's got manasikara, right, which is non-mental engagement, right? And so what it doesn't mean is like the equivalent of some kind of like little snip of the spinal cord, and we're not feeling anything. But what it does mean is, you were talking about texture, and then I was thinking about sandpaper. Right, and then I was thinking about suede, and then like a rough grit, like 60 grit sandpaper, and then like a crystal ball, and then a feather, right, and then some melted cheese, right, all different textures, right? So all these textures happen. All these textures happen. Just let them happen. Like, no need to define. And this is where our own like recognition can become a little, problematic, right? Because we can have recognition mixed with objectification, right? Objectification means that there is something for me to recognize, right? As opposed to just open, so this amanasikara, right? This like non-reactive, you could say, non-moving experience of mind/awareness. So whatever is happening is able to happen, right? But there's no, like even with exhaustion, right? You can be sitting and we're tired. We don't have, there's no, absolutely, there's nothing with like, you must sit through this, right? So if we're like, okay, I'm going to take a nap, wake up, come back to meditation, that's fine too. But, we want to be a little careful about intentional action, so action that is like, I am feeling tired, I am taking a nap, right? Don't even worry. So this came up, I know this has come up with me talking like one-on-one with people, but I think it's helpful to be more of an animal and less of such an amazing human, right? When we're an amazing human, we're so invested in the way that we are describing everything and everything I know about this, like I know so much about this thing and that thing, and I'm so well educated and I'm so articulate, blah 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 blah, right? So we could be like a cat who's not like, let me tell you all about all of the different ways I sleep. I sleep this way and that way. I sleep well, I sleep long, right? They just do that. Or dogs are great too, because they're just like, oh, doing this now, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now, right? And I do think that there sometimes is a lot more wisdom in being like that than, feeling like, I feel like I'm stuck in a Franz Kafka play, and we can't let ourselves even just be original. We're like, there's this constant thread of reference point material, So that, right? Distraction, let it go. Right, when we let it go like that, what is it? It's not distraction. It's just experience. It's just stuff happening. Right? Distraction means that it is pulling something away from something else. I mean, the whole dis in it, right? That's what that word is implying. Distraction is not even possible. Even if one were to die in the middle of a meditation session, what's that? Is that a distraction? Or is that just something that happened? There's nothing outside, nothing can come from outside of Mahamudra. Everything is Mahamudra. You are Mahamudra. I am Mahamudra. We are all this mycelial network of the expression of Mahamudra. Right? So this idea of being outside of it, or I got to get inside because I'm stuck outside, like that's all, like an expression of misapprehension, right? Misapprehension in the sense of not apprehending, not really seeing, not really knowing the way it is. Right? And then once we begin to kind of really feel more into this, then like the constancy of Mahamudra is like, it can go any which way, which is the great thing. Yeah, improv is Mahamudra. Mahamudra is improv, totally. One can't, musical theater is Mahamudra. Mahamudra is musical theater, right? Like, this also, like, I don't know if I'm the only person who feels this way about it, but when I feel this, that phrase, it's all good, like it's all good, is right, is true, right? And even Kuntuzangpo, like that name, means all good. All good. And again, this kind of goes back to, not only Varupa, but many people have made these points about hope and fear. When you're really resting into Mahamudra, there is no hope and fear, right? What's to hope for? It's all already here, it's already gone, it's already done. What's to fear? It's already happened. You're too late. If you're fearing something, it means you're too slow. It's already done. So, anyway, thank you all very much for being here and for your patience. And let's just very briefly dedicate the merit to. We're going to change the subject. Dedicating the merit to all beings who have been harmed by Sangha abuse and by abusive teachers. May all beings who have been harmed by teachers, by Sangha members, by all of the kind of many different kind of combinations through which harm can occur. May those who have been harmed be able to experience their mind as Mahamudra. And may those harm doers who are so obsessed with themselves and obsessed with power and obsessed with control, may they too be able to begin to recognize that their mind is Mahamudra. May all beings be liberated from the need to control others, the need to control their own minds, the need to control the environment around them. May all beings be freed from the narcissism of being up on high thrones, or the narcissism of being Mahamudra practitioners, or the narcissism of being spiritual. May we all be free. May we all be free. Thank you very, very much, and take care of yourselves, and have a, today's Losar too. Losar Tashi Dele for those who celebrate. I will see you all soon. So take very good care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.